Hi guys, welcome to my channel. This is Beck Can Stitch. My name is Beck. Today is Flosstube number 3. Today is the 31st of March 2025. Today I've got 4 projects to show you. I've got a little bit of haul and a little bit of life updates. So welcome to any new subscribers. I hope you like what you see, and thank you for coming back to my existing subscribers. So I have got 4 projects to show you. Did lose a little bit of my stitchy bug. I have also been in hospital for a little while, so I had one project that I took with me. And I've got 2 new starts. So to start off with, I've got my project that I am doing for my brother, which is Milo. Milo is stitched on a 18 count zwiggart 2/1 full cross. I managed to get 9,084 stitches done for a total of 40,283 stitches, and I am now at 13.1%. I will put a photo up here of the last time that you saw Milo, and this is where I am now. He's on a big piece of fabric. So I'm still working my way across the top row, and I am now almost finished the top row, which will be exciting. The next row that I'm planning to do, hopefully the top of Milo's ears will come in. This one I have changed to a diagonal, because I had noticed that I was getting, in particular over on this side, some horizontal lines coming through. So I have changed to a 20 by 20 or 10 by, might be a 10 by 10 diagonal on this to try and avoid some of those line marks. However, if you do look closely, I do feel like I'm still getting some vertical line, some diagonal lines, sorry, in the piece. So with the next pages down, what I'm thinking of doing is like a typewriter method where I'm choosing symbols from the top left corner and working my way across more in a cross-country style, and I'm hoping that that will avoid any more of those lines. So we'll see how we go on this. My goal for this was to try to do 700 stitches a day. 400 stitches a day. However, I haven't been able to keep up with that. I was feeling a little bit burnt out with the piece, given that it is only I think 5 colors, and I sort of lost my little bit of a stitchy bug with this, but I am hoping that next month I'll pick him back up again and start making some more good progress on Milo. The next piece that I'm working on was a piece that was gifted to me from Sharon from Fun with Cross Stitch, and this is called Sea Life. This is what it will look like when it is complete. If I have a before photo, I will stick it up here, but I pretty much had just done the little fish on that one. It is worked on, I think it's a 32 count linen, and I am doing this one at 2/1 full cross, and this is where I am up to now. So on this one I have done the 2 anchors, and I have done the word sea life on it. So put in a little bit of progress with that. I didn't realize that I must have had a dirty hoop, and I have unfortunately now got this nice hoop mark. I'm hoping that it will come out in the wash. But it is something that I'm enjoying stitching when I'm not feeling like doing my other projects. It's just something little to pick up and work on. The next piece I have is enabled from Adelaide Stitches. She was showing her 2025 Fox and Rabbit mystery sampler, which when I saw it, I was like, I need this. It is a piece-by-piece release. So far they have released 3 sections. Sorry, I will just bring it up on my tablet. And this is what they have released so far. I am doing this on a 25 count even weave. I'm calling this one my Cyclone Alfred piece, because when I had started to do this one was when Cyclone Alfred was coming across the Queensland coast. Normally we don't get cyclones so far down. They're sort of more up north, sort of Townsville, Cairns way. But this one had decided that he wanted to visit Brisbane instead. We were fine with it. We were tracked as being part. It was going to cross at Brisbane and head its way out towards Toowoomba, which would have put us, I think, just south of where it was going to hit. But hopefully by the time that it had come that far inland, that it was just going to be a tropical low. We ended up copying about 2 days of it being really, really windy and a bit of rain. The block that we purchased several years ago, we do know that we are alongside a wetland which cannot be built on. So we were aware that the back of our block does flood, which it did. I'll insert a photo at the end. But I think that the water on our block actually rose more in the 2022 floods than it did with Cyclone Alfred. So this one I have put in 7,989 stitches, and I am complete for the 3 releases so far. Hopefully the next part will be released tomorrow. I am doing this, like I said, on a 25 count even weave. I am using one of the DMC variegated flosses. It is the first time that I have used one of the variegated flosses. So I've had to relearn or remember to complete each cross at a time, because normally I stitch, I think it's the continental stitches, where I'll go through and do all my stitches one way and then come back with the other leg the other way. So having to remember to do 1 cross at a time. But I am really enjoying this one. This was the piece that I had also brought with me to the hospital because it was small and just needed 1 lot of thread. I am using one of the DMC variegateds. I'm absolutely loving all the blues and the purples. My daughter, every time I work on this, she's like, oh, I like this one, Mum. So my plan for this one is when it's done, because it's only a little piece, I have bought like a canvas that I'm hopefully just going to use that as the back for that one. So my plan for that one is to hopefully just keep up with that sow, which so far I've done. I managed to stitch all 3 sections this month. The next piece that was also a new start, so I have now subscribed to, there is a Peter Rabbit cross stitch magazine, which I absolutely fell in love with when I saw it. Peter Rabbit was something that was around when I was very much little, and I absolutely loved it. I am currently working on, it's the spring sampler for it. It will come as a 4-part series, so there is 1 per month, 1 per season, sorry. And this one, I can't tell you how many stitches I've put into it because it is a paper chart, but I've only sort of done a small little start. So this is my small start on Peter Rabbit. He is done on a 14 count aida, and I'm doing it 2/1 full cross. But I'm liking how the little bunny's turning out at the moment. He is so cute. So I will get back to him. Hopefully today I'll get a few more stitches put into him. So that's all the stitching that I have done this month. The next thing that I will move on to is my haul. So I, when Sheena Pike was on Heaven and Earth Designs, she had done a free chart which was Mama Sea Turtle. That's what it looks like when it is finished. And I had ordered some fabric off AliExpress back in February, and I have been waiting for this fabric for a long time. It finally arrived. I was wanting something to sort of look like she was in the ocean, but I also wanted a little bit of sparkle to it as well. Unfortunately, when the fabric arrived, so this is the fabric that I got. It's got some lovely mottling to it, but when the fabric did arrive, it wasn't an opalescent as it was described. So that is the fabric, but I'll still go ahead and use it. It is what it is. Learnt my lesson. I am planning on doing this one 1/1 full cross. I have got all the CXC threads for it. But yeah, so that should be a new start this month, I'm hoping. The other haul that I have was a digital pattern from Heaven and Earth Designs. This one is, artwork by Oleg Gavrilov. This one I saw Jade the 309 Stitcher doing, and I absolutely fell in love with the piece. So when Heaven and Earth Design had their sale on when Michelle's daughter unfortunately passed away, I jumped on and grabbed this one. I just absolutely love it. It'll go nicely, hopefully, with all my decor in my house. So I am planning to do that one on a 25 count fabric. I haven't yet gone and bought the fabric yet and the threads for it, but hopefully I'll be doing that soon. What else? So that's my stitching, that's my haul. If that's all you're here for, thank you very much for joining me and checking out my progress. Sorry there isn't as many pieces. Like I said, I've had a few issues with my health, So I haven't been able to touch as many pieces as I usually would. Thank you for returning. Hopefully we'll get another video up at the end of next month, and try and keep up with the monthly videos. Right, into a little bit of life update. So in, I think it was my first video, I mentioned that I had a form of accelerated atherosclerosis, which basically means that I seem to be blocking off arteries here, there, and everywhere. So at the end of February, I'd started, sort of at the beginning of February, started to get a pain in my leg known as claudication pain, which is basically when you work or move your muscles require more blood flow, and because of the blockages, it's unable to supply as much as blood flow as what it's requiring. So you do get like cramping sort of pain, which I have tried to keep pushing through it, and it just makes it worse, to the point where it affects my everyday life. I find it difficult to even go out and hanging clothes on the line. I did some vacuuming the other day and I got to do one room before my legs started to hurt. So I have seen my vascular surgeon team again, which they told me, I think it was 95 or higher percent occluded again. So they have booked me in as a category 1 to go in and try and remove that blockage again, and they may or may not require a stent. Last time they did it, they managed to just clear it out and not put a stent in. This time it's actually further up the leg. So I am currently on a category 1 list to hopefully get that seen to and to get it unblocked again. So far it's now been 30 days. I don't know whether that has been influenced by the fact that I have been back in hospital and unwell again. So I'm just waiting to hear back in regards to that. Then a few weeks later, I ended up getting some chest pain, which was getting relieved with my GTN spray, but I didn't initially think anything of it. I thought, going back that morning, I had for some reason, my blood sugar levels, because I am diabetic, my blood sugar levels had elevated through the roof, and I had no reason as to why my blood sugar levels had suddenly shot up. I was feeling nauseous and had vomited a few times. So my boys happened to be at home, so I sent my middle boy to the chemist. I'd called up the chemist and said, I'm just sending my son out to go and get some ketone strips. Gave her all my details and whatnot. So he came home, tested my blood, and luckily I only had a small amount of ketones in my blood, so I didn't at that stage need to go to the hospital to get that managed. I had messaged my endocrinologist for my diabetes and said, this is what I'm doing to bring it down. To which he said, that's great, just let me know how you go. So I'd managed to get my sugar levels back down to, I think it was like in the 12s. I was feeling very exhausted, so I had gone to have a nap, and then, sorry, dogs have just come in. I'd gone down for a nap, woken up from my nap, was still feeling horrible, had vomited again, and then got some chest pain. So given my history with my heart, I did call an ambulance. They came, they sent me to the hospital. My ECGs at that stage did look okay. They did some blood tests, so they looked for an enzyme that's released when your heart goes through an ischemic event called a troponin, and they had come back negative, which indicates that my heart was coping fine, that it wasn't having per se a heart attack. Given my history though, in that my last one, I had a non-STEMI back in December, and that was also troponin negative, but because I had persistent pain, they went and did an angiogram, to which then they had discovered that I had occluded one of my stents by 95%. So the doctors decided to keep me in overnight, and to get checked out by the cardiologist the next day. I was still getting some intermittent pain, but it was getting relieved with GTN and some painkillers. So stayed, I think it was 2 nights, and then got discharged. Went home, still had a little bit of pain here and there, but managed to ignore it for a while. And then this one particular night, my pain had come back again. Was taking my GTN spray, which was relieving it for a little while, but by the time that the GTN had worn off, the pain would come back again. Given that I'd only been in hospital a few days earlier, I thought I'd see how I'd go without going back to the hospital. But in the end, I just couldn't take the pain anymore. It was starting to, at that stage, radiate into my shoulder as well. So I woke my partner up and said, can you please take me to one of the local hospitals out here? So I live rural, so we've got a couple of smaller hospitals, one that's about 15 minutes away. So I got him to take me to that hospital, and at least then I thought, I could get some pain meds on board. They can do an ECG just to make sure that there's nothing too bad going on. In the back of my mind had that they were going to more than likely transfer me to the next big hospital, because of my history. So I got admitted there. ECGs again were fine. Troponins were slightly elevated, but not anything that would indicate that my heart had a heart attack again. But given my history, transferred me to a different hospital so that I could get seen to. The hospital that I was transferred to is where my cardiologist is. So I went via ambulance from that hospital to the next hospital, and when I got to the emergency department at the next hospital, they did the troponin levels again, and they had come back at like 79 or something like that, which is elevated, which does show that my heart was having an ischemic event. But at that stage, my ECG was still looking okay, so they weren't in a hurry to do anything about it. I am on multiple anticoagulants and blood thinners, so for them to do an emergency angiogram, there is more of a risk of bleeding. So they wanted me to come off my medications for a few days, just so that they could do the angiograms safely. So I had to wait a few days for that. When they went in the morning on the Wednesday and had found that I had re-occluded my artery to my heart again, I think it was in my right RCA. So they had gone in, so there is a wire that they go in and it's got some razor blade type things on the end of it, which they can then sort of scrape away at some of the plaque within the artery. And then they put in another stent, so that made stent number 7. Sent me back up to the ward. Initially I was okay. I was just getting some mild pain, but I thought that was as a result of them playing around in the heart and the arteries. I've had angiograms before, so I do know that I do get a little bit of residual pain from that. But about an hour and a half later, I was getting more uncomfortable with it. So I had asked the nurse if I could get some pain relief. And their policy is to do an ECG for anybody who has chest pain. So they did the ECG, and the cardiologist happened to be on the ward at the time. So he reviewed my ECG, and I have not seen this cardiologist ever have a look of concern on his face, 2 of which he looked at me and said, "We need to get you back down to the cath lab now." I happen to be very lucky that the girls that are in the cath lab hadn't gone home. They were calling up to confirm all the appointments for Friday's list. So he had rung back downstairs and said, "Stop what you're doing. We need to set up the lab again, because Beck needs to come back down and have another angio." By this stage, apparently my ECG had changed to where I had what they call ST elevation, which is an indicator that your heart is having an ischemic event. So it was very, very rushed. I didn't even have a chance to give my partner a call to let him know that I was going down for another emergency angiogram. I remember I had unlocked my phone, had his number on my phone, and said to one of the nurses, "Can you call him and let him know?" Where another nurse had turned around and said, "We don't have time for that. We need to get you downstairs now." So it felt very, very rushed. This nurse that had come down with me, I had said to her again, "Can you please get somebody to give my partner a call?" And she said, "Yes, I'll get one of the doctors to give him a call." Went back in, had the angiogram, and it turns out we're not sure whether the stent had had a crack in it or that it had somehow managed to slightly uncoil, but it had occluded my artery again. So they had to pop in another stent, so that made stent number 8. So that had been fixed. I went back upstairs. I had then given my partner a call just to let him know what had happened. Turns out that nobody had actually called him to let him know. So he was a little bit shocked with that. I had then obviously had 2 arterial stabs in the femoral arteries in the legs, and one of them, the one that was done in the morning, had kept a bleeding overnight, so didn't sleep very well that night because I kept having the nurses coming in and having to place some pressure on it. And then I think at about 7 o'clock the next morning it finally stopped bleeding enough that I didn't need any more nurses putting any more pressure on it, which was great because it was hurting. Did end up having a massive hematoma there, and had to get an ultrasound for that, just to make sure that it wasn't occluding or that I hadn't developed a massive clot in the artery itself, and that all turned out fine. I ended up staying for a few extra days because I continued to still have a little bit of chest pain, and just to try and recover from that. So got discharged Wednesday last week, home, and yeah, so still coming to terms with the fact that my heart keeps blocking off these arteries. The cardiologist is trying to bide me a little bit more time. We know that inevitably I will have to have a coronary artery bypass graft, but I am only 41 at the moment, so they're trying to hold off as long as they can, because it's not guaranteed that if they do the graft that I'm not going to block off the new graft. And yeah, just trying to get my diabetes under as tight control as I can, to try and hopefully prevent any more of these blockages. So yeah, so still waiting to hear back from my vascular surgeons for a date to get my leg fixed. But yeah, so at home again, have a little bit more time to stitch, so hopefully I'll get some more progress on my stitching. The kids have got 1 more week left of school before they go on their Easter vacation, which my daughter's excited all about. Her birthday happens to fall on Easter Saturday this year, so she gets presents one day and chocolate the next, as she likes to keep reminding me. But yeah, so that's it for me, guys. Hope you enjoyed what you saw today. Sorry for the long life update. And I hope to see you all again next month. Until then, bye for now.